What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Shift Change. I'm your host, Jason Stanford. Let's get started. I ain't gonna lie to you. I went to bed a little annoyed last night. Woke up pretty fired up, and I think the reason why is I'm going to credit that to my daily routine and the habits that I've developed over time. We're going to talk about that today. Today's topic is about building habits, um, adding new habits, getting rid of old habits, how our job benefits for that, and how our home and physical, mental, emotional well-being benefit from that too. But first, let's get through a couple things. Holy crap! Let's talk about Ashley's show for a second. I'm recording this episode on Friday, the 16th, and Ashley's episode came out the 13th, I think, or the 12th, or something like that. And that thing has exploded. It's already up at over 100 listens in 4 days, which just goes to show that people are interested in that kind of talk, right? Like that's why we're doing this. Is there's more out there to learn. There's more out there to uncover, and there's people out there that are willing to give us that information. Um, she's gotten a lot of good feedback about it, so it sounds like we probably just need to schedule another episode and do some follow ups and kind of dig in a little deeper because it really is a rabbit hole that you can go down a long, long ways. And I'm happy to do it. Like it's fun to talk about. For those of you who have school age children, I'm sorry. The day is coming where they are no longer going to go to school. And for people like us in public safety who have days off during the week, we're going to have to make some adjustments. Again, it's nothing we're not used to. We do this every year, right? Like I've got 4 kids for shit's sake, so I'm not. But it surprises me every May that I'm like, holy crap, you guys are out of school already. I felt like I was just waving to the people going to school in September, and now everybody's coming home from school. For Pete's sakes, there's going to be some adjustments made, but hopefully after today's episode, we can easily make those adjustments and move our daily habits around. Here's another thing to note. Listen to this real quick. If you just took me, just listen, I just took a sip of coffee out of my new espresso. Let's talk about that for a second. I did not buy it. My wife bought it for me without me knowing. I'm not really an innocent. This is going to sound rich from a guy who just the other day was bitching about the high cost of contact lenses. Um, I had an espresso a long time ago from somebody at work, and it was delicious. I ain't gonna lie. And I started doing the research on the espressos and things, and I'm like, I'm not interested in spending that kind of money. Like you have to for a lot of different reasons. But the coffee itself was delicious, and the espresso was delicious. And so, long story short, the other day we got a bunch of boxes in the mail, and I just thought they were pool chemicals and various other things like Sam's Club necessities and that kind of stuff. Open up a box from Target, and there it was. It's supposed to be my Father's Day gift from my wife. God bless her. Initially, I was like, "Oh man, we don't really need this thing, and where am I going to put it on the counter? Counter space is at a premium in this house." And for those of you that know my Type A personality, I can't just put it anywhere willy nilly. Long story short, what a terrible problem to have, right? Like, where am I going to put my new espresso machine? Oh, I don't know. Uh, and then so anyway, I was like initially going to be, let's just take it back. We need other shit um, for other things. I don't need. But listen, I put it on the counter. I unpacked it. I put it together, and I made a goddamn cup of espresso, and it was delicious. And then I got the milk frother out. If you've never frothed your milk, Jesus, do it. I got a sneaking suspicion that I'll be able to froth some protein shakes and put them in my coffee too. Like, how great would that taste? Like a mocha, like a protein mocha. It's endless. I think part of the reason I'm fired up because I had a double shot and now I'm drinking a cup of coffee and the sun's shining. I've got a list of things to do today that I'm going to accomplish, and that always makes me happy. I'm not sponsored by Espresso, but I mean, if they wanted to do some shit, like send me some pods or maybe throw in a second microphone so I can better interview guests, I don't care. I'll say whatever they want me to say. Their goddamn coffee's delicious, and their machine, it works. That's all I'm going to say about the espresso. Let's talk about habits. And I think that the reason I brought this up is because we can use the word habit or routine synonymously. Like I think you can say routinely I do this or habitually I do this, and I think that those work interchangeably. Um, Sometimes when you throw the word habit around, I think people talk about bad habits like smoking and drinking and basic debauchery, that kind of thing, and that's all true. We're not going to talk about how to quit smoking today, even though I think you should. We're not going to talk about how to quit food addiction today because that's I don't know psychologically there's way more to that. I'm going to talk about like adding things to your day that you wish you could add to your day and adding things to your work day that maybe you've always wanted to do or always wanted it but you just can't figure out the time to fit it in or the process to fit it in. um, Maybe even if you just recognize that maybe we all have some bad habits that we need to kick, um, and that we all have room in our day to include better habits into our day for whatever it is we're trying to get at. And being at the pinnacle of your job in this business, I think, is important. And to get to there, I think that we all have to have some sort of. We don't have to have the same habits, but we all have to have this frame where we go at the day at a certain way, um, and that's going to translate into your life too. Like my habits on my day off are different than my habits on my work day, and for good reason. But they crisscross and they translate and they work together. And I wouldn't probably have the habits I do on my off day if I didn't have those habits that were instilled in me on my shift day, and how those evolve and change as life evolves and changes. So uh, we'll talk about routines, home routines, pre-work routines. Like, does everybody? I have them. I have a pre-work kind of like checklist work routine where at the night before I'm always, uh, you know, making sure my uniform's clean and my boots are clean, and I food prep. We'll talk about that in a second. I make sure that if I'm on a 24, I have my overnight bag packed with the essentials in it and clothes for the next day, and I have them set in a certain spot where when I get up in the morning, I just go grab them and or I preload them into my whatever. Um, Pre-work ritual on the way to work. We'll talk about that for a second. We all have that, but do we have it on our day off too, where we're efficient with our time and we're getting stuff done and we're improving ourselves on a daily basis, or we're trying to program something in or we're trying to deprogram something out. Um, Talk about that. The idea from for this topic came from somebody who just willy nilly basically after the first of the year said I'm going to be more positive. I'm going to do it. I'm going to be more positive. And I thought, well, that's probably not going to happen. And the reason I thought that is because you can't just declare something and so it will be done unless you're Jesus or God, and then you can declare whatever you want, right? But like it takes a little bit more intention than just saying I'm going to lose 30 pounds. Okay, cool, great. I'm on your side. I hope you do it. Um, but this particular individual is inherently negative on a good day, um, and the habitually so. And so I think that internally, I'm trying to analyze his declaration of positivity, and then I'm trying to walk it back to my assumptions. Now, I have no facts to back this up about the routine of his day, and maybe how that impacts how quickly he would go from I'm going to be more positive to instantly negative, right? And because it's a habit, and and habits are hard to break. Period. Bad habits are hard to break. Good habits are hard to implement. It's just the way it is. And the declaration did not last long before we at work picked up on the very first, basically negative tone, thought, statement, whatever. And I know that it feels good to say things like that. Like, this is why motivational topics for motivational speakers make you feel so good when you leave the auditorium, because the hope filled um, idea that you are going to make some sort of positive change in your life makes you feel good. But then you get out in the real world and it wears off. And then you're like, well, you're kind of right back into the same old stuff, right? And that works with anything. Like if you go to a financial, not a financial planner, but somebody that says, like the motivation, discipline genre is $1 billion industry. Like there's no shortage of people out there telling you how to live a better life and to be better at something, whether it's I'm going to start saving money, now, or this is what you can do to save money now. And you're like, oh my God, this is great. I'm going to save so much money. If I just make that extra mortgage payment a year, I'll cut, but then you don't do it. It feels good. Or, the fitness industry, the wellness industry is full of bullshit of, lose 30 pounds now. And it feels good to say, yeah, I'm going to lose 30 pounds. This is great. I'm on this new thing. It's day 2. I'm in it. I'm committed. And then by day 7, you're like, nah, right. And so I think we bullshit ourselves a lot into saying that we're going to do things that are going to better ourselves because it makes us feel good in the moment. But then we lack in application, or we lack in commitment, or we lack in um, building it into our lives. And work is no different. So that's why things fail. And so here's a real good example. A long time ago at one of the EMS services I worked at, we got into this. This called Fit Responder, and it's a great program. This is not a knock against Fit Responder. This is a knock against the application. And so this fella came in, and we all of the shifts got together, and we met at meetings. And he told us how to be better at our jobs physically, right? So, here's how you implement stretching in the morning, or these are the stretches that you should do, and this is the things you should do for better wellness. And everybody's like, "Oh my God, this is great! This is so wonderful." I mean, it's shit that like the 1% of your department do on a daily basis that people will look at you funny for doing, and then when your department pays somebody to come in and say, "Hey guys, you should stretch your hammies out before you start your shift," and everybody's like, "Oh man, that's great." Okay, side note. Okay. But the point of that is that for the first week after this guy left, everybody was trying to hold each other accountable to stretch. And everybody's like, okay, did you do your stretches today? And the stretches felt good. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, I did my stretches. But by week 2, nobody was doing the goddamn stretches. Right. So how did that fail? It failed because they we failed, individually failed to implement it in our daily lives. And it's a testament to how often you have to do something for something to be ingrained as a daily habit, right? Here's something I learned from. So my oldest child was in this youth leadership initiative class from sponsored by Lead Des Moines, I think. You get college credits for it, and what they do is they interact with the community of Des Moines and basically learning what to be a young leader in this in out in your community. And we went to the little graduation ceremony, and they had a couple speakers, and one guy gets up and he was talking about habits too. And he's like, so I want you, little interaction, I want everybody to cross your arms. Okay, so we all crossed our arms, and so habitually my arms went left over right. Okay, so you do it at home if you want. It's kind of a fun little test. And then he says, all right, now uncross your arms and put them down your sides. And he goes, now recross your arms the other way. And I was like, wait, what? And so I kind of looked dumb for a second, where I was trying to trying to fit my left arm over, or my right arm over my left arm. And it was very awkward. Well, that's the point, is that I've been crossing my arms my entire life one way. Now somebody's asking me to do it different, and I'm like, oh, I have to think about that for a second, right? It's the same. Including something habitually in your daily routine or your life that benefits you is the same way. Like if you've been doing something one way for your entire life, whether that's thinking negatively, or eating like shit, or sleeping like shit, or pounding a couple beers before you go to bed at night, and you want to eliminate that, you are going to have to think for a second about eliminating it. You can't just say it, right? It's going to take intentionality, if that's a word. You're going to have to be intentional with the habit that you want to do. And I thought, well, what a great example of habits and how much they ingrain you for life. Um, Here's some habits that I've included successfully, and these are things that I'm not saying that is a blueprint for success or a blueprint for wellness or a blueprint for everything. I'm just saying these are some things that I had to intentionally work on because I wanted to be better at them. So, obviously, the cold plunge was a big deal. That was a habit that I had to get into every morning at 5:30. I'd wake up and I'd basically sit in 35-degree water for 3 minutes, and it sucked ass. It was terrible, but I loved it. It became addictive, and I think that that's part of one of the things that we face too when we get into these bad habits with our laziness, maybe, or our uh, food choices or how we spend our time on our phones or things like that is just the addictive nature of some of these bad habits we have are probably a bigger subject and something that I am not um, capable of talking about when it comes to addictive personalities and addictive and addiction itself, whether that's to food, alcohol, drugs, whatever. I don't know anything about that kind of stuff, but I know it sucks and it's real hard if you want to if you want to kick an addictive habit. Um, it takes a lot more work than I'm going to share with you in the next 30 minutes. So here's another good one: morning water. My partner on the weekends, we like to joke that sometimes we drink coffee for sport, and what that does is terribly dehydrate us. And sometimes my urine smells like Starbucks, and that's bad, right? But one thing that she does to combat that is that she drinks water on her way to work. That's her time to hydrate, or at least kick off her hydration. I thought, well, what a wonderful idea. So I would put bottles of water by my coffee pot in the morning, and every morning when I wake up, I go pound a bottle of water. Well, that's I will forget from time to time, and I've been doing it for a year. And that habit is still not ingrained in me to the point where I instinctively or habitually wake up and just drink that water. Like I have to have the cue in front of me, otherwise I will not do it. So if there's not a bottle of water sitting in front of my coffee pot, I will not instinctively say to myself, "Oh, I better go get my water bottle before I drink this coffee." I will just grab a cup of coffee. So that's a good example of how hard it is to actually instill some sort of routine. Um, I wanted to read more. I wanted to read more books in my day, in my life. And one of the ways to do it is I have to get up earlier now. So, which is a habit on itself, right? If you're going to say, well, I'm going to get up and run 5 miles a day every day at 5 o'clock. Well, listen, Linda, let's slow down a little bit. You've just added two habits in there that you've probably never done before. So the chances of you being successful 100% at two new habits a day versus one are not zero, but real goddamn close, right? So let's start with something first. Let's maybe work on getting up, and then let's work on getting up consistently. And then let's work on including that 5 mile run, because I promise you, if you've never done that, you're going to be real hurting the next day. So the chances of you getting up on day two to run that same 5 miles is real close to zero. So let's start small. I don't. I think people get um, confused sometimes when they're like, "Man, I want to do all these things better, so I'm going to do them all in the same day." Well, you're just going to lose track. It's inefficient. Like build a habit first, and then build on that habit, and then build on the next habit. I think that makes more sense than waking up and saying, today I'm going to do all these things that I've never done before, and then tomorrow I'm going to do this. I'm going to repeat that process. I think it's unrealistic. Um, But if you want to, I wanted to read more, so I just had to make more time to read. So I had to get up earlier. I'm a morning guy now anyway, and I love getting up earlier. But my time to do that is between 5 and 6. So I will get up, pound my morning water, grab my cup of coffee, probably still Folgers at this point, right? Like I'm not that. I think the espresso is a treat. Let's just tone it down a little bit. I think that's a treat. And I sit and I read, whether that's 2 pages or 10 pages, whatever I got time for. Um, but every day I do that, and I'm happy to do that. Some of the others, I quit snacking. That's a habit that I've. My friend MFC just pointed out when one day when I was bitching about my weight in February, he's like, "Well, hey man, just stop eating so much." I was like, "That sounds pretty basic." He's like, "Yeah, well, stop going by the pantry and grabbing your handful of chocolate covered almonds. Just stop doing it. Just don't do it. Quit eating protein balls. They're not protein." I was like, "Shit, man. Do you have to be so aggressive with that?" Well, yeah, because the answer is just stop doing it. Well, two things. I get it. It worked in this instance, but not everything is going to work that way. Like you're not going to stop smoking. Cold turkey is hard to do anything. Like I quit chewing tobacco cold turkey, and that's a whole nother story for another time. But I was real motivated to do it, we'll talk about that some other time. But he was right, and so all I did that day was just not snack. And if I did, it was on fruit. And then the next day, I just not snacked. And then the next day, I didn't. To the point where now I'm just down to not snacking, and I feel good about that. Like it's a habit now that I'm 48 years old. You'd think like some of this shit would catch on when you're 30, but it doesn't. Like everybody, it's normal. Please don't think that you lack willpower or discipline because you can't figure out something when you think you should figure out. But you have to intentionally. Like I've been to the pantry, I've seen the chocolate covered almonds. I just had to tell myself to walk away, and that's intentional thought. Like you're just not going to wish uh, old habits out and new habits in. It doesn't work that way. Meal prepping is another habit I had to really get into, and that stemmed from the every third day grind of working, where I figured up one day, and this is before the economy is in the shit tank it's in now, um, when I could actually afford Jimmy John's. Um, if I ate out 3 meals a day on my shift day, it was like X thousands of dollars a year, and I don't remember the number. I'll probably get it wrong. Back then, maybe $5,000. Now, probably like half a million. And so I decided to meal prep. Well, that has long lasting effects. Not only did I save a bunch of money, but I also was in control of my nutrition. So I didn't let how I felt that day dictate how I ate. So you're coming back from a call at 3 in the afternoon, you missed lunch, and now I want to binge on, Taco John's, or it's 8 o'clock at night. I do miss one of my old partners and I used to go to Dairy Queen a lot, and I do miss the chocolate shakes on a summer night. Like that was kind of fun. That was a treat. It was every third day. But if I had that chocolate shake on top of three other fast food meals, um, you can imagine what kind of shape I'd have been in. And so meal prepping was a thing where I had to include it in my day. I had to make time to sit down and go, okay, I got to spend an hour now making a bunch of food. I'm going to do it today because I have to work the next 3 days, and I'm not going to leave my nutrition up to my workplace. So if I go down to the cafeteria and all they have is shit to eat and I'm hungry, well, I'm probably going to only eat shit, right? I'm not interested in leaving that up to them. I'm interested in leaving that up to me. Not only do I get to control my portions, I get to save some money, and I get to decide how I eat that day, and that's a lot of power. So, but the point is you have to build that habit. Um, I learned that from working the shift. Now, here's some habits I failed to include. If you want to talk about failure, because I'm real big on talking about failure, because I fail every day. Failed last night, lost my shit. I'm not happy about it. We'll talk about that some other day. But I was not happy with my reaction, but I did it anyway, and I don't know why. I really don't. Habits I failed to include. So I used to be big on yoga. I used to be big on mobility. Every night I'd go to bed. For 10 minutes before I went to bed, I would do some yoga. I was real pliable. Somehow, somewhere, I've lost it. I've gotten out of it. And I haven't done it in a long time. And every day I wake up and say, today is the day I'm going to bring back yoga. And tomorrow I'm saying the same shit I said today. Today is the day I'm bringing back yoga. And I don't know where it is. I've gotten probably lazy. And I don't, the only way to fix it is to fix it. So whether you got to write a big ass sign on your bedroom door that says do your yoga, or set an alarm on your phone that cues you to go to bed, or go into your room or whatever 10 minutes earlier, instead of maybe turning on the TV, or instead of maybe scrolling through Instagram and looking to see if the Shift Change podcast has posted anything lately. Um, do your goddamn yoga, do your flexibility, do your mobility. Um, Exercise accessory movements is another thing that I failed to do. I have on my whiteboard in my garage, like all these things I want to do before my workout and after my workout. And it seems like every time I get done with my workout, I'm like, oh, I got time. I got to go mow the yard, and I don't have time for this neck mobility bullshit, which is another bad habit I have, is I carry my head too far forward. If you've ever seen me, and I'm self-conscious of it, but only rarely, my head right now is tilted forward. Well, I've had neck surgery. Basically, my neck is welded together. Um, and carrying my neck forward, even an inch, adds basically weight to your dome and put stress on your neck. So I have to catch myself and instinctively sit back up straighter and put my head more midline. But I can't do it unless I think about it. I don't know when that dam's going to break if I keep doing that for so long, and then eventually. But I have to work on my neck strength every day, and it's something that I forget to do a lot, or I just don't make time to do, and that is something I'm trying to get better at. Bible readings was a great example. Last year, our church did the read the whole Bible in a year thing, and every week you had an assignment, and you had to read certain chapters of the Bible to keep up. And man, we killed it until about spring break, and then all of a sudden I was out. I was like couldn't recover. Uh, and then every now and then I would look and go, oh my God, I'm so far behind. So if I'm this far behind now, what's the point? There's the trap. Is we instinctively put something on our plate that we're going to do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And if we skip Friday, we're like, ah, shit. Well, what's the point? And we don't pick it back up on Monday. The point is you pick it back up that very minute. The very minute you saw that you were deficient in a habit you were trying to build. So you slip and you eat like shit. Okay, fine. Gotcha. From this moment on, let's not eat like shit anymore. Okay. Yeah, you stopped reading your Bible verses in March, and now it's May 15th. Open the goddamn book and see what I did there. Trying to read Bible verses and I just used the Lord's name in vain. I am a sinner. Jesus loves me anyway. Uh, Open up the book, start reading it again. Like there's no rule that says just because you failed today doesn't mean you can't be successful tomorrow. Like just do it. And I'm bad at it. I did it. I'm preaching to the choir. Like I have not done it. I was like, ah shit, I'm never gonna keep up. Start it again. Building this podcast is another thing I failed to do. Like I thought that I was gonna figure out time to work on this. Intentionally certain hours of the week, and I don't have any sort of structure. I'm just like, ah shit, I got to record next week's episode. I need to build that into my day. Maybe I got to get up 15 minutes earlier, so now maybe I got to get up at 4:45. I don't have an answer. I got to figure it out. um if you noticed on Instagram, which by the likes nobody has, um I was posting every day, and now I'm only posting once or twice a week. Well, the return on investment just doesn't seem to be there. But I think where I'm going to lack is in the consistency, right? Like I think that whether you're podcasting or trying to influence anything, you have to basically be consistent, because you don't know when it's going to pop. You don't know when those consistently 10 likes is going to turn into 10,000. Um, and that brings us to one of my favorite little anecdotes in life, and it's something that I used to uh, post in my garage. It's like it's a phrase. It says "pound the stone," and what that means is that a sculptor or a stone cutter never knows when that stone is going to break, right? But he has to keep hitting it until it does. He doesn't know if it's going to be on the 10th strike or the 10,000th strike, but he does know if he quits pounding the stone, it will never break. Does that make sense? So if you're going to build a habit, you have to be consistent into the point where you just have to pound the stone until that stone breaks. And the metaphor is whether you start losing the weight, or you start feeling better, or you start you've built that habit into consistency. You don't know when that is. But the point is, if you quit, you'll never get there. And that's one of my favorite little things, anecdotes. Here's some habits I'm trying to break. If you're interested, I focus on the stress and not the joy. What that means is I look at what's wrong instead of what's right. So when I come home from work, I instinctively look at the shit that I'm going to be mad about, and I don't know why. I think there's there's some biological things in there. Like I think as humans, we're conditioned to find threats and stresses because that's how we survive, right? Like we were conditioned at one time to make sure the saber-toothed tiger didn't rip our face off, and we had to search for the things that were bad. And if something was bad, we brought awareness to it. Well, not to say there aren't inherent dangers out there now, because there are. And if you're in public safety, you will find them all. Um, but at the same time, there's room in our lives to find what's right. And so instead of coming home and trying to find, oh, my kitchen, whatever, my kitchen's a shithole, and being kind of pissy about that, maybe I should say, oh man, it looks like the kids made muffins and I bet they're delicious. That's such, I'm not going to eat one, but it looks like they had a good time making muffins. That is, I, I cannot do that. Like I'm going to be like, God damn it. Why didn't they pick up their shit? But I'm trying, right? Traffic is the same way. Like inherently, if somebody comes zooming past me at 100 miles an hour, I get instantly pissed off. I'm like, God, you're an asshole, right? Um, you're going to cause some sort of problem or whatever. And I instinctively go, but I fail to think anything else. And conversely, if I come up on somebody going real goddamn slow, I'm like, oh God, you're a kind of a, I have nowhere to be. Why am I mad about that? You could be 80, you learning how to drive. You could be my daughter. You could be whatever, like quit being a dick. Um, I'd rather them go slow than the guy. So I can't win with myself is the point, and I don't know where it comes from. I'm trying to change that. That's the whole point of what I'm of growth is you got to pick apart the shit you don't like about yourself and make it better. I don't like myself in traffic. Okay, we don't even have it bad in the state of Iowa compared to Austin, Texas, or LA or something like that. We don't even have it bad. I'm trying to improve myself to be more tolerant of other people, and that in itself is a habit that is going to take some intention. Okay. So I always look at the bad instead of the good. Let's talk about work habits. Um, and I think we all have them. I think we have routines, whether we think we do or not. We show up to work on our shift day, and we do the shift change, and we do. Um, and then what do? Well, you fire up your computer, you check your audits, you check your emails, you check in the truck, you check in the aircraft. Like you go to Starbucks, you go get some coffee at the cafeteria, maybe you go get some food. I would almost guess that most of us do the same stuff almost every day, and that's great. That's called routine. That's called habit. Um, where you get into trouble though sometimes is you have to really look at those habits are good or bad. Are you always stopping at Quick Star for two cake donuts and some chocolate milk every morning? Because I know it tastes good, but is that a good habit? Are you starting your day off with news that makes it sound like everybody in the world's an asshole, and so therefore treat everybody like such? Um, and does that peel over into your professionalism? Is the question I'm asking. So, um, a lot of good daily habits that we have in public safety. I think making sure but we also get into some bad habits in public safety, and I've been guilty of them too. Um, I used to go to work every day, and I would review the SOPs or some protocols, and I would basically try to review some sort of literature that made me better at my job. I have not done that, and I don't know how long. And it's a terrible habit to have fallen out of, because now I feel like I've basically lost touch with trends in ground transport, in EMS, in legislative action with public safety, where we're at on that. I really have no idea because I've kind of removed myself from that environment where I'm not on an ambulance anymore. So I don't have, I don't spend time in that reviewing that sort of stuff. And I need to start doing it. I need to add that habit back in. I need to know what's going on in my profession. I think we do a good job of keeping up on, the air medical stuff. Um, but I have really lost touch with where I came from. And I don't feel good about that, but it's a habit I'm trying to add back. So how am I trying to add that back? Uh, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I sometimes I have an hour commute to work and home, and sometimes I have a half hour commute to work and home. So what I've tried to do, and this a bit of a lie, what I am doing is I am taking that time. If I'm going to work, I'm going to listen to a podcast that's work related. Okay, I'm going to, whether that's about amniotic embolisms or ventilator management or uh, just basic, um, how we provide feedback in EMS, that whatever. I'm listening to some sort of podcast that is going to get me better and basically prime my brain for my day, which is solving problems. And so I could listen to a podcast about something totally unrelated, but does that really get me ready for my day? I don't personally, I don't think that's true. So I'm making an intentional effort habitually when I go to work. I'm listening to a podcast about work. Now, if I come home from work, that's a different deal. I usually need a little time to just kind of mindlessly not think about anything, and so I will either just listen to the radio or listen to a couple guys talk about dumb shit, maybe about building habits in your life and your work or something like that. So anyway, that's how I'm trying to fix it. I'm trying to read more. I'm trying to educate more. I'm trying to ask more questions for people that come in by ground. I'm trying to add. I have resources out there that at my disposal where I can keep up on legislative action with my profession that I'm trying to seek out. Um, but again, it takes intentional thought every day. It takes consistent effort every day. These things uh, you have to do it when you don't feel like it. Like maybe I don't want to listen to a podcast about ventilator management or status asthmaticus, but I owe it to myself and I owe it to my profession to do it. Um, there's a everybody's seen this YouTube video about Admiral McRaven. He was a Navy admiral, and he gave a commencement speech, and he said, "If you want to change the world, make your bed." Right? What a simple thought. It's if you get up every day and you make your bed, there's a lot of benefits to that. One is you've just completed a task, and everybody loves completing tasks, right? Like it's a sense of completion. Everybody loves it or should love it. And you build a habit. If you do it it's a simple habit you can build every day that should lead into building other habits. So if you're not a bed maker and there's some things you want to do in your life to improve, whether it's your job or yourself personally, I would start by making your bed. He's not wrong. Make it. Make that shit look tight. Do whatever you got to do. Make it look good. And then the next day, do it again. And the next day, do it again. And the next day, do it again. And you're gonna be like, oh my god, I'm gonna. This has taught me how to build a simple habit. Will help you build those more complex habits. Um, I'm going to challenge you all to add a habit in a day if you feel it necessary, and I'll challenge you all to get rid of a bad habit. Um, the bad habit I'm trying to do is I'm trying to not instantly find the negative in something or the wrong in something and try to find the right in something. And I'm really bad at it. Uh, really bad at it, and I have to figure it out. I have to do it every day. If you want progress, you're going to have to change something, right? Like that's the only way to do it. If you want to progress, and I think that the evolution of life is a progression. We are not. You should not be. I should not be at 58 who I am at 48. I should be a way better version. I think if we're doing it right, I think we should improve every day and not decline. I know that there's a lot of people out there that say that, oh no, after a certain age you start to go downhill. I think that's bullshit. I think we should be the best version of ourselves the older we get. I understand there's going to be physical limitations, But by God, if you still think the same way 20 years from now that you did today, I think you're doing it wrong. I really do. And if you're not interested, if you're looking at yourself going, you know what, I'm pretty goddamn good the way I am. I have no doubt you are. I think you're pretty good the way you are too. But tell me with a straight face and conviction that you have no room in your life for improvement. Zero. Like you've hit the pinnacle. Tell me. And I will have no choice but to believe you to your face. But I'm gonna tell but in my head you're full of shit. Right? If we're serious about improving our respective professions, and I don't care what that is, dispatching, policing, EMS and nursing, whatever, we're going to have to face some ugly truths about ourselves that maybe we don't have it right every day. And maybe there's things that we can do every day to make us better so that we're better for other people, whether that's your kids or your family or your patients or the citizens or yourself, your spouse, whoever. And I think one of the best ways we can do to improve ourselves, if we need it, is to instill habits that lend to improvement. Okay, do it for you. Do it for the people you serve. Do it for the people you live with. If there's something that you've always wanted to do, or there's always been a habit that you want to do, I've always wanted to do this, then just do it. Figure out a way. Write yourself notes. Leave yourself reminders. I can tell you right now, how you can free up a lot more time in your day is put your goddamn phone down. I mean, not unless you're listening to this podcast, keep it. But I'm saying, like, don't take it into restaurants, don't take it into church, don't take it into wherever you are. Like, leave it in your car for an hour and figure out that. And then once you build that was the best habit I ever did. Is I got rid of social media except for Instagram, and I got rid of how much time I spend on it. And I will leave my phone inside my house, and I will leave for hours, and I have freed up a lot more time. It's something simple. You can do it. I promise. All right, that's it for today. If you got any questions, stick around until you hear the sign off, which tells you how to get a hold of me. And if there's something you want to talk about, let me know that too. I got a couple more guests on the back burner. I just need to schedule time with them, and that's another habit I need to get into is making time for things that I have historically not made time for. We'll all figure it out together. Work hard, be kind. Bye. Hey guys, thanks again for listening to another episode of the Shift Change Podcast. I need to ask if you would leave a rating. I think that it helps people who are new to the podcast find it quicker. It doesn't do me any good, but it does help other people that are looking for the Shift Change Podcast on Spotify or Apple. It just comes up quicker the more ratings that you give it. I don't, whether you give it a 2 or a 5, it doesn't make a difference. It just helps other people. If you need to get a hold of me, contact me via my email, the show email, which is talkshiftchange@gmail.com. Or you can message me on Instagram at talk.shiftchange. Excuse me, at talk.shiftchange on Instagram. As always, thanks for listening. I could not have imagined um, how well this podcast has been received. So, as always, I appreciate it. Work hard, be kind.